It's 9 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Prior to doing the homeowners' comments, I would like to read a statement that I've prepared for everybody. Good morning, everyone. Our HOA is committed to maintaining a positive and respectful community where discussions remain constructive and productive. To ensure effective meetings, I ask that everyone come prepared, keep discussions focused, and avoid unnecessary drama. Our HOA is committed to fostering a positive and collaborative community where all voices are heard and treated with civility. The HOA does not operate a social media platform for official discussions. Statements made on those platforms do not represent the board and will not be addressed in our meetings. Our discussions should remain centered on matters directly impacting our community through the proper channels. Disrespectfulness or vulgar language towards board members, HOA administration, or other members will not be tolerated. If a member engages in disruptive behavior, the meeting will be paused and they will receive a warning. If the behavior continues, they will be asked to leave. Should they refuse, the meeting will be adjourned. These measures ensure a professional and respectful environment for all. For suggestions, recommendations, or complaints, please contact the general manager, the board president, myself, or the appropriate committee chairperson. Decisions take time and careful review. Please allow the system to work as intended, so each matter receives proper consideration. By working together in a respectful and organized manner, we can build a strong and well-functioning community. Thank you for your cooperation.
Can I add to that? Thank you. I just want to back up what Marcy is saying, and I'll dive a little deeper real quick. We're going to have disagreements amongst ourselves, even up here on the board and in the audience as well. And it's very important that we don't take it personal. Don't take somebody's disagreement with your view personal. If your perception is that it is personal, just simply change your perception. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, and it allows you to move forward. Our behavior, I just want to remind everybody, our behavior now is up for review. It's on the camera at all times. I work for a major airline and I also umpire baseball. We have a saying before every trip and before every game. We're on YouTube, just don't go viral. And it's some great advice. I thank you for your time, and I thank everybody here for their input, no matter what it is, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
So we'll go into homeowners' comments. Yeah, very quick.
Nancy Millard, Oakwood Heights. Marcy, I want to personally thank you for taking a leadership role and making this an environment that this community deserves, to have respectful, engaging conversation. I have a suggestion. I think that what you just read should be put in the minutes so that it can be used if ever needed for any type of reprimand, but it should be logged in, I believe. That's just my suggestion.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, homeowners' comments. Skip. Just a reminder to everyone, please, if you are going to talk, make sure that you do come up to the microphone to speak so that we get everybody recorded. Thank you.
Hello, Skip DeZonier, Torrey Pines. I just want to say thank you to the HOA and the residents for the pickleball padding on the center courts, especially to Sean for doing the installation. I think Sean saved the community quite a bit of money So really appreciate it. Very well.
Ardell?
If you're on social, I'm Ardell Canelli, I live in Willow Ridge. If you're on social media at all, I'm sure most of you are already aware that we lost our dog to a coyote attack in our backyard recently. This occurred at 9:30 a.m. So I was getting upset. But two large coyotes, they did not even kill my dog. They just came in the yard and aimed her, literally broke her in half. We have lived in Arizona since 2001, and we've never, in any of the homes we've had a coyote, least of all two large coyotes in our backyard, our fenced 6-foot-high backyard. There are those who say this area is their natural habitat, and respectfully, if we were out in the wilderness or on a farmstead, I would agree 100%. But given that Westbrook Village has been here for over 30 years and is a densely populated neighborhood, surrounded by the same, I would disagree that this is coyote territory as much as it has become. I admit that you always see coyotes on occasion on golf courses, but typically not blocks away in someone's backyard. Peaceful coexistence just really doesn't seem an option. When we first moved here, we rarely saw any up towards Beersley Road, where we bought our house purposely off of a golf course because we didn't want to be where we had coyotes, because we had 2 dogs and 2 cats. We love our pets, we take care of them, we don't ignore them, we leash them, we follow all the rules, but we have always been able to, living in Arizona, have them wander freely around our backyard, especially if we're out there, okay? So we were across the yard when these 2 coyotes came in our yard, and one of them got the dog and one of them stood there by my fire pit. And it was rather not only intimidating, but absolutely horrifying. The coyote population in Westbrook has grown significantly over the past 10 years, which is a natural progression, hence more coyotes equate to more encounters. I've heard from many people that they've had coyotes approach them, they're aggressive. If the coyotes were removed or relocated several miles away, it would take years for them to repopulate Westbrook. Thinning the herd process happens everywhere in the country. To do nothing and say, it is what it is, seems unacceptable, given it would be a tragedy if someone would be attacked or injured by a coyote, not to mention more dogs being attacked and killed. Has the board considered initiating a Westbrook Village coyote education program or a safety and security protocol policy to help educate residents, mitigate coyote issues that would include tips on avoiding conflict with coyotes, eliminating coyote food sources, protecting pets, personal defense, etc., and teaching people how to scare them away. They're almost domesticated with how much they'll approach us. What is the board's position on relocating them? What can be done to permit or help homeowners secure their own property? Since this is not reflected in the minutes, I will be sharing this information with homeowners in any way possible, including social media, as I know this is not in the minutes. I would like to see this become an agenda item soon. It shouldn't be discussed. Thanks. And I appreciate all you do.
Thank you, Megan. Ardell, from me and the board, we are very sorry for the loss of your pet. And, you know, we'll take some steps and see if there's something. I mean, unfortunately, I think we really can't thin, quote, the herd, because the population that we have controls the others from coming in. This is very territorial. If we thin them, then we're going to get new ones coming up from there. But we can reach out to Fish and Game, and I think your suggestion as to maybe some education might be helpful. So let us do some looking into that, but thank you for bringing that to us. I'm sorry. Joy, you're up.
Oops, sorry. Joy Groves from St. Andrew's Place. I did want to point out, I don't know if anybody saw the Peoria thing, that they did have HOA education. And they had it's coming up June 17th, is to master the amendment process, which is something that we might want to consider on some of our CCNRs or anything. So anyway, that's that. Then the other thing was basically combination of budget and transparency.
So Joey, could you move your
Okay, move it
microphone
down,
down?
sorry. Yeah, here we go. Okay. For transparency, I had asked several questions on candidate night that were not asked of the candidates. And most of them are related to costs of some of our projects. I reached out to Karen and was able to do a special form and get some of this information. According to that information, the reflection garden costs $64,858. The Westbrook Commons costs $29,017. The biological clock costs $73,265. And then according to the budget, I didn't ask this question, but the horseshoe and the cornhole area costs $36,800. So I went to the bylaws, and under and I understood that there was, did not live here when the botanical clock was put in or voted on. I understand there was a vote on that they voted, that the community voted on that clock. I could be wrong, but that was my understanding.
That is correct.
Okay. So according to the bylaws on capital expenditures, anything in excess of $20,000 has to be approved by a convened meeting of members of 2/3 votes represented. So I need to ask that before we continue with our budget expense on, the pickleball fence or the fitness center, that we have a community forum, that we basically have a vote on whether to continue that, because that is in our bylaws, and it was not done on these projects. So, and then the other thing I needed to see, Sherry had brought up,
3 minutes.
okay, this is on the minutes from the annual meeting a year ago. We were supposed to get feedback on whether that was a typo on the candidate election results.
The board corrected that last month.
Okay.
It's been corrected.
All right.
It was a typo for the number of votes. Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
Yes, it was corrected.
She's on her way to Europe, so I needed to bring
She
it
got a
up.
copy of the correction.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if everybody else were aware. Okay.
All right, that concludes homeowners' comments. So I will call the meeting to order. I would ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marcy, I would like to clarify the answer that I had for Joy. A survey and input was done, but not a vote
Okay.
on the clock. Okay. And it wasn't the botanical clock, it was the entrance drainage project,
Okay.
which that was a part of.
Okay. All right. Mr. Davis, could you please confirm our quorum?
Pursuant to Article 4, Section 7 of the bylaws of Westbrook Village, quorum 1/2 of the number of the directors then serving shall constitute a quorum at the meeting of the board. There are 7 directors of the Westbrook Village Board at this time. 4 directors must be present to meet quorum requirements. We have quorum.
Thank you. All right, on to our next agenda item. This is the approval of the board minutes for the May 7th, 2025 meeting.
I move that they be approved as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, conversation as to potential corrections. The only thing I saw in there, Barb, was 3/4 of the way down on page number 2. This is under Landscape and Facilities Committee member recommendations. Joanne Green is not a member of the Landscape and Facilities. That should say Bob Carnero.
Good catch.
Hard enough to get her to agree to ACC. Okay, any other corrections? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. No opposed? Passes with the corrections. All right. Next item is the minutes for the Board of Directors organizational meeting on April 2nd of 2025. I can do a motion.
I make a motion to approve these as written.
I'll second it.
Barb, the only correction that I see is on the second page of it. My last name's not spelled correctly. I'm missing an E.
Under LRP.
That would be a typo.
Multiple places.
All right, any other corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand.
You have 6.
Bruce, or excuse me, Tim, are you, oh, okay, thank you. All right, passed. All right, moving on. Mr. Treasurer, your report.
Good morning, everybody. This is just completed my first full month and into my second month as treasurer, so bear with me as I read through this. I thank our general manager for correcting me in a couple items. It's always good to have oversight. Our general operating fund. The general operating fund, which is designated for day-to-day operations, has a cash balance, including certificates of deposits, of $3,104,826. Forecasted revenue for 2025 is $3,482,865, with $3,111,969 coming from member assessments. Total revenue for April, just so you know, we divide our assessments monthly, so it looks better on our statements. Total expenses for April are $253,872, resulting in a surplus of $34,694.05 for the month. The Ways and Means at the end of our meeting decided it would be prudent to move $500,000 from our association checking account and move those funds to an interest-bearing CD. This CD will mature in December, at which point these funds will be needed to pay our bills. Our replacement reserve fund. The reserve fund balance for the period ending April 30th, 2025 stands at $4,713,538, supported by home sales and the preservation fee associated with them. From April 1st through April 30th, there were 21 resales, with 5 preservation fees that were waived. From January 1st through April 30th, there have been now 65 resales in Westbrook Village. Budget reserve expenditures for 2025 total $1,219,050. including planned projects such as perimeter wall repair and painting, HVAC replacement, the RV lot complex resurfacing, perimeter fencing for pickleball courts, fitness center refresh, and all other normal infrastructure repairs and replacements. These financials are on file with the Westbrook Village Administration Office. For questions or to schedule an appointment, please call the number that you see up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. All right. Can I get a motion on the treasurer's report, please?
I move we accept the treasurer's report, subject to audit.
I second.
Okay. Matt, just for clarification, that's both operating and
The budget.
reserve. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from anybody? Okay. Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no opposition, that is passed. All right, moving on, facility usage report, which is 18 through 20 in our binders. Any questions or comments on that? Any comments or questions from out there?
Can't find glasses. Not readable.
Okay. Apparently it's uneventful this morning. All right, let's move on. Next. All right, as for agenda item, Lakeview Estates, number 4190032, driveway appeal. I need to make the following statement. The Board of Directors, including Mr. Bernier, received an email from Mr. Davis at 6:21 a.m. this morning indicating that there was a potential legal action to be taken in this matter. As a result of this, we will need to suspend discussion of this appeal so that we may seek legal counsel on behalf of the association. As a result, this matter is now of a legal nature and will only be heard in executive session. Mr. Bernier, we will need to notify you of this matter when we can place it on the upcoming agenda. All right. Having taken care of the unfinished, well, no, excuse me. We have one more thing on unfinished business. This is the Vista Pools. That was for the exercise rail quotes. We did not receive back the proposal on that as requested. So we are moving that to the next month's meeting to be discussed. So we should hopefully have those quotes to be able to discuss that at the next meeting. All right, moving on to new business. New business, guest policy, membership policy. This is a draft. This is for us to start a conversation on that. You should have the corrections up there. They are in red. At this time, this is only a proposal to only start the conversation, which is to keep our 20 complimentary guest punches in place, to raise the fee for the additional 20 guest passes to $40, and that each resident with their personal identification card and guest punches can check in 5 additional guests each day. And that is for homeowners, annual residents, and renters who have that ability. So I would just ask for a motion, if I could please get it from the board, for us to be able to open this just to start the conversation today.
Make a motion to open this for discussion.
So moved.
All right. Board?
As a member of the Budget Committee, I want to have it noted that it was their recommendation that that $40 fee for a card renewal be $100, and that's a significant difference. So I would like that to be on record. Thank you.
Did the budget committee give us reason of what each person, the impact of each visitor, what it really is dollar amount wise to the facilities? Where did they come up with the $100?
The Budget Committee got advisement that other associations have a $5 per guest entry, no 20 free. Also, it might be worth noting at this point that guests get in free. I mean, guests get in cheaper than what you and I get in. If you amortize this out and do the math on it, a guest gets in for a couple of bucks, where you and I, if we attend or go to the facilities 3 to 5 times a week, we're paying like $5 per visit. So I think that needs to be part of the conversation also.
But, so there has not been any review of what the impact is, or what the guest impact is in the facility.
What kind of review are you alluding to there?
There's plenty of other examples, but in my example, let's say I bring my children, we have a little gathering and we want to come over and use the pool and their spouses. So there's 8 of us, plus me, 9. So we go over there for 3 hours, and what is our impact? A couple bucks each or whatever. Well, actually later on, what I don't care for is I'm now limited to 5. I can't even bring my family. So that's not cool. But what is the impact? Where did we get these numbers from? I don't care what other people or what other associations are charging. I want to know, what does it really cost us here? What is the impact? Why are we coming up with these dollar amounts? And in my opinion, I think we need to refrain from just grabbing dollar amounts out of the air, because in the future somebody can use that $100, for example, and now it costs somebody a lot of money to come use the facility, and really the impact isn't there. There's no justification for that dollar amount. So that's why I bring that up.
Marcy, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
Where did what come from?
The page 20.
Well, it is the current policy that is in place as of voted by the board on July 7th of 2021. The red line marking was my red line marking to start a conversation.
Okay, because in January, the board voted 6-1 in favor of increasing the amounts, and then it was pretty much immediately rescinded 100%. And so my question is why are we revisiting this? We've already taken care of it.
Well, we need to revisit it because we do need to look at the cost overall, and we did have a conversation about the number of people being able to come in at one time and use the facilities as guests to our members. So we have always said that we would bring this back and have a conversation. We just walked back the decision that was made back then in January.
And then I respectfully request that when we put this in the agenda that we have some kind of a timeline and we can follow that, because I disagree. I don't think we've ever talked about bringing this back up. So if we can add the notes so that board members can follow this along, and the people in the audience can actually follow as well.
Well, as a board, we can bring up any potential policy and have a conversation about it and see whether or not we need to be adjusting a particular policy.
I'm just asking that we can be a little bit more precise and so we can actually follow along. You're right, the board can do a lot of things, but it would be more beneficial to the community if we can actually have some kind of a timeline to follow.
Well, we've also been asked by homeowners to reinstate this conversation too. They asked for this to come back onto a board agenda.
Okay, so in February 6th, a unanimous written consent was sent out to the board and it reads as follows. Due to the concerns presented, I move that the board suspends approval and enforcement on the January 8th, 2025 motion regarding our guest policy, pending further discussion and input. That was a unanimous vote by all 7 of you. Pending further discussion and input. Therefore, that's why it's coming back.
Thank you for that clarification, but continue the conversation here. One of the reasons I pulled back my vote on our original plan for this was the limit of number of guests we're allowed to bring in here. And what hit me hard was the family situation. We do have residents here that are single, and it's very limiting to them if they have family and they're restricted to 5. I just feel there might be some way to discuss how we could navigate around that. Because I myself, yeah, it might be per household.
It was 10 per household, I believe.
Okay, and then that would help me be more receptive to number of guests. Because, yeah, my wife and I, we each could bring 5 guests, but then the single one, the way this is written, says, or am I reading it wrong? Does it say per household?
No, you're right.
It doesn't,
Okay.
but that's a
Okay.
great, that's
And that might be
That's a
a
good
good
suggestion.
thing.
Its intent was per household.
Okay, yeah, I would appreciate that more.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you for that clarification.
I would recommend we don't even put a limit on it. There's plenty of people that have more than that. I'm one of them. Right now, my wife is out of town, for example, and if my kids come over and bring the grandkids, I far exceed 5. I far exceed 10. So I don't think we should decide just for the sake of control. There's probably people out there that have more family members than I do, or even friends. I know there's people that have more friends than I do. So I don't think we should have a number just for the sake of controlling.
So now, yeah, that brings up for me, there's a big difference between friends and family. And
I even had to use a guest punch. For example, a lot of people know I was trying to figure out access controls at this facility and get ideas from other companies on what kind of doors we have and what it would take. And I even had to use guest punches to walk those guys around. And so I would be in violation of that 5 and they're not friends, right? So they don't qualify down at the guest part either.
if a procedure was followed, that would have been avoided.
Well, there's really no procedure allowing.
Yes, there is.
No.
I sent it to you.
No, that's not part of that. And, for example, one of the facilities people was allowed to take an HVAC contractor to the gym and show them the gym and all that stuff. We as board members don't simply give up our rights on what we do for a procedure like that.
All you have to do is communicate and it would have been avoided. That's it.
We can
Our
disagree about
facilities
that.
manager would have walked you through it.
We can disagree with that. My schedule's the worst schedule. Okay, I'm not blaming anybody, but it's hard for me to schedule with somebody. And everybody's busy and they have things and it's very difficult to get something done.
But you
But that's a different
understand that's part
discussion.
of a
That's a different
policy.
discussion.
The staff was doing their job because of the
I haven't
board
seen
policy.
that. I've never seen that
I
policy.
sent you the procurement policy that the first bullet point said exactly that.
I agreed to disagree with you about what it said. That's in the agenda, we can go over that then. But the fact is, there are situations that we cannot foresee, that are different situations, that it's hard that when we put a funnel on it and try to restrict things, somebody's gonna be in violation somewhere. Whereas if we just leave it open, there's no violation. And we have to ask ourselves, why are we trying to restrict the policy? Why are we trying to put limits on how many people can be brought? I don't understand. I have not been given a reason yet on why we're considering raising the funds and why we're considering limiting the guests.
I agree.
Well, as for raising the funds, we have raised the funds on a lot of things. Why should this not, in kind, get raised right along with everything else?
I
We as
agree.
homeowners pay more assessments every single year, but we shouldn't have to cost us more to bring our guests in.
I agree, it shouldn't have to cost us more to bring our
And
guests.
now we're paying for wristbands.
And it shouldn't, we shouldn't raise funds without questioning if we really need to raise the funds. Not just because we can.
Isn't that up to the budget committee?
I get it, I just asked if the budget committee did any studies about what the impact is. I haven't seen any budget studies. If they're gonna make recommendations to the board, they should say, hey, it costs $1.25 each time another guest uses the pool. It costs 25 cents when another guy goes and plays tennis with his buddies, or, something like that. That should be done.
How do you equate that?
You think what?
The cost?
You do a breakdown of what it costs to run the facility versus how many people use it, and how many guests are coming in.
Okay.
Can you compare that to, say, the golf and country club? When they have a guest.
Hold on, Ardell.
Microphone.
Ardell, come up, so that everybody can hear what the question, yeah.
Good point.
How do you compare that to, say, the Golf and Country Club? It's a private club, so their guest fees are priced accordingly. Not necessarily according to what we'd like it to be, but it's accordingly. This is a private neighborhood, so the guest fees are going to be according to the fact that it's a private neighborhood. It's not a public neighborhood. So how do you balance that out with what you're saying with, the golfers don't have a budget that says because another player, it costs this much more. It's just a known fact of private versus public, and this is private.
Actually,
I guarantee
it's both. It's private and commercial.
I guarantee the golf.
What?
It's private and commercial.
Fine, but it's a private neighborhood. We bought into a private neighborhood. We did not buy into a commercial entity.
Well, you're making my point. So the deal where we need to follow the bouncing ball from point A to point B, because way back in December of 2023.
But it's a private neighborhood, just like in Sun City. You can't walk into the facilities in Sun City because you feel like it.
Do you agree?
pay.
Do you agree that everybody can come to bingo?
Do I believe it?
We can allow other communities to come in and
Marcy, we need
participate.
microphones, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we've got to have microphones, because people can't hear the other side of the discussion when they hear it, so.
I'm sorry, what?
It's okay. So there are types of events that we have here that are not private, they're commercial. So we can have things like bingo, or we can have people participate in concerts. And so there's different items that we do is also
But that's a
commercial.
different entity than the clubs here at Westbrook. It's a completely different thing.
Well, it's not necessarily a club event, so if you don't belong to a club, you can come in as a private citizen. If you're a member in good standing, you can have grandchildren or friends or
So
or
your
anybody.
stance is anybody and everybody should be able to walk into Westbrook and do anything they want?
We have a guest pass policy. So if we look at Article 2 of the CCNRs, it dictates what we can do as far as invitees. So that's what we're looking at.
I don't think that's what you're looking at.
Well, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking to do is that if we can, is again, the bouncing ball is this started way before December of 2023. So it's kind of hard to follow. Bruce and I talked the other day, and it's like, why are we even talking about this again?
And respectfully, why would pickleball be any different than the wood shop that I belong to? Why should it be any different? We can't bring 5 guests into the wood shop. So why should it be any different?
The guest pass policy doesn't specifically say that we're going to penalize one group or another.
Okay. Well, I think a guest pass should be a guest pass across the board.
Good point.
To answer your question about golf, I guarantee the golf club has a per person amount of money it costs for them to run the facility. And that's,
Sorry. I guess we're gonna open a can of worms here a little bit, because if it's gonna go down this road, then Ways and Means has to get involved here, that we put together the cost of running and maintaining each specific facility within our community, and then we have all sorts of documentation on how many people use it, and then we can divide those two numbers. And we're gonna know what it costs per person to use this facility, and I think we're all gonna be in total shock. And $5 is nothing. So let's be careful here. I think maybe this is the path we need to go down, just to wake everybody up. Sure.
yeah, I think the asterisk is what concerns me the most as well on this. I looked at what the asterisk means, it's over on page 2 and print that I can barely read. But it says fees may change upon board approval. So if we approve this, fine. And if we in the future decide it needs to be $100, we get to do that without any study or any oversight at all, which I think is...
No. Please do not say that statement out loud as that is. Because that is not true. That is exactly what we're doing here today, is we are having a conversation. As a board, we have open meetings and open conversations.
You have the right to
All it
table
means
and
is
ask
that
for
we have the ability to make a change upon approval. That does not say in a closed door behind session where nobody can see us.
I did not say that. I said we get to bring it up like we're doing right now. In the future, if we want to change that, we do it.
Well, then
I
remove
think there
that.
needs
Make
to
a
be-
motion to remove that.
We're just talking about it. I didn't know we can make motions
I
right
mean,
now.
you can suggest to remove it.
That can be your
If it's
suggestion,
offensive,
yeah.
I think we should remove that. Because I feel like a town hall should be brought to discuss every time we want to move the guest policy around. I mean, it affects everybody in here.
Well, except for Joe, we have not done anything with this policy since '21. So that's been 4 years that we've done anything. We've watched our inflation go up over the last 4 years and have made no change with regards to that. So, I mean, we're not doing this every year. That's the point. We want to try and maybe put a policy in that can last us for a few more years again, and then the board can have a conversation about it.
I agree with you, and that was changed. For example, it used to be I could bring my family, and it was one punch on the card for no matter how many people I brought.
Correct.
And then it was changed, the dollar amount was changed. Now we're talking about making it go up again. So it has changed in 4 years, and if we want to revisit it every so often, I think that's fine. But I just think we need to be able to not just have one meeting and make that change. That's why I was concerned about the asterisk.
Oh, but that's not what the asterisk means. The asterisk just means that the board has the ability to make a change with their approval. It doesn't say it's always going to be this way. We are bound by an open policy meeting, governing us. So it's always going to be like this. And the intent of this was never that today we're making any kind of decision. This is a conversation for everybody to be able to put their input in. And Bruce, I don't disagree. Maybe your idea, which was started with Joe, is that you go ahead and we try to put that together and show the community really what it costs. And you may all be surprised, and this conversation may be going up or maybe going down. Who knows? But
So Marcy, why did you vote to change the monies that were proposed, or the change was made in January to increase the prices, and within short order you decided to spearhead to remove it, and now we're revisiting this again?
She didn't.
Yes, she did.
I did.
I made the motion. I made the motion, but I did not spearhead that.
Okay, very good. She made the motion, Karen. So she made the motion, so put it in motion. So the board, with the exception of one person on this board now, all voted in unison to put this to bed.
No, once again, we had the motion read to you, and what we did is we walked back that decision for us to be able to have an open, another conversation about it.
Well, I disagree. So right in the corner here, it says, for those that can barely read it up there, it's kind of small. It says BOD approval 7/7/21. So it's typical, it may not be protocol here, but it would be nice to know what this was before in 2021, and then we can look at and compare it to this one. This young lady here made a great idea that, you know, sometimes there's reasons to have stuff at more, they cost more. Some people believe that certain things here are private, some are public. It all depends on what it is, but we need to have all the information to vote on. So all these red line items that are in here, somebody says it came from the budget committee. So if you look at one of the pages that talks about committee reports under item D, there's no such thing as that sheet that talks about a budget committee.
There.
Those figures did not come from the budget committee. I'd like that clarified.
Okay.
And right now, we're running the facilities with the operational budget we have. From my point of view about, let's do some more research on what it costs for the guests. Right now, we're running it without it being $40. If $40 is justified, then so be it. We can see how much each guest impacts. We know what we impact right now with how many guests show up right now, and we're doing it. So if we're gonna raise it $15 for more punches, and it's justified, so be it, but I think we owe our constituents those facts.
That $40 is diluted by the 20 free entries that are also incorporated in the policy.
So
It's
that's
not really $40.
Skip, Tory Pines again. I made a request to Colby with respect to the number of times an individual checked in more than 5 since the last discussion. So he told me that it was true.
yes.
So I'm asking.
Yeah.
So I asked about the number of times any individual checked in more than 5, based upon the prior conversation that was had about the suggestion of limiting to 5. And since the last discussion in January, I believe, he said it was only 2 occurrences.
Correct.
That's been more than. I know one of them was an incident due to an injury of a resident that couldn't come in and help check in people. And then so I'm bringing it up with respect to relevance. You know, if there's that few, do we really need to have this restriction? If it's not happening a lot, that's all I'm saying.
Jim Keller and Cypress Pines. I think there's a lot of dissension here. If the board can't agree, how are 3,700 people going to agree? Now, we elected you people to represent us. I disagree with you, Joe. We don't want an open policy. I pay HOA fees, and I'm reminding you that these courts, the open area here was intended for the residents who pay fees. Now, $100, you gotta put some common sense in this, Joe. Now, common sense, $1.25 a person as a guest doesn't make any sense. Where's your common sense? I think that this needs more agreement. I think that the people need to have more input. And I think that these common areas need to be recognized that we pay the fees for the common areas, not the outsiders, not your friends. It's we the people. Thank you.
Hold on one second, Joanne. No, hold on. Go ahead, Kathy. You sit patiently.
Carter, Willow Ridge, and I have something I'd like to give to each board member, if that's okay?
Okay.
Are you okay? I know I've been instrumental over the past few board meetings and over the past year or more in trying to come up with a guest policy that would work for everyone. And in my discussions over the past several months with lots of different people, I have come up with people that say there should be no guests at all, to people that say, I don't think we should have any restrictions on how many guests. So somewhere in between is where we need to land. And this board, just by your comments here, is very different than past boards. Past boards have said that the intent of the original policy, the definition of a guest, was far more restrictive than what has been happening in our community. We have people bringing in anywhere from 10 to 20 guests at one time, because there is no restriction currently on how many people you can bring in at one time. There's also no restriction on how many guest passes you can purchase. So you can bring in unlimited guests forever by paying $25 for a guest card currently. There's also no restriction on how many times someone can be a guest. So we have people using our amenities as though they are a member of a country club or a gym or somewhere else where they would be paying. And just what Jim just said, these people are not paying, but they're coming in and using our amenities on a regular basis with no restrictions. I kind of looked at Sun City's policy and I like it. I like the fact that we have to register our guests prior to them coming in. We know who they are, we know who is bringing them in, and it's in a file, a database of guests that are already, registered. You don't have to register, it has to be registered the day before you bring in the guests, but if you know you have people coming in December, you can put in the registration anytime, and then that application is just held in our guest database. Then when they come in, the receptionist has to check so that they only get so many times that they can be a guest in our community. You can see in this draft that I put out, I used our current guest policy as is up there, and I highlighted in red suggestions that are kind of consistent with Sun City, but it went a little further. For example, you can only purchase one additional guest punch. 2, you can only have 5 guests at one time. Sun City uses 2. The reason for all of this, as you're asking, Joe, this is not your family's country club. This is not your friend's country club. This is for our residents. We bought into an age-restricted community for a reason. I don't want to go to the pool with 25 children and a 5-year-old birthday party going on at the pool because they could. That is not what an age-restricted community looks like. And I don't want 25 guests coming in at one time with one resident, which has been happening. So I put together, and the red highlights are consistent with what I've been talking about, that we need to have more restrictions on how many people are coming in and using the amenities that we pay for.
Thank you.
I just heard though that Colby said this, somebody brought in more than 5 only 2 times.
Since January.
Oh, since January. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Joanne Sacco and I live at Torrey Pines. And I can't see much, I just got out of the eye doctor, so. But anyway, I'm questioning the non-resident card because some lady said something about a private and then an open community. We're a private, so are we still doing the non-resident card?
I don't know what you're referring to as a non-resident card.
Non-resident punch card where you can come and play cards, for the whole year for $50.
That's
You
the
can
annual
go to
guest.
water.
That's the club guest pass.
That's,
Okay,
yeah.
so are they still doing that?
Yes.
Yes.
Then what's the private community then? Because they come from all over the place. Water Zumba brings in friends, they come in and there's so many people in the Water Zumba, I don't even go anymore because you don't have the space. And so I know they're not all residents. So are we a private place or are we a non-resident guest place?
We have very limited non-resident guest
That's not
cards.
the question. There's a thing, private or non-resident can come in. So you can't be a private and then you can't be a, we bring in people for bingo and the whole thing. And for your functions?
I believe that guest cards issued by the club, the membership card, very much controlled by the club. They're only issued to people who can contribute to the club. So they're not, it's not, I don't believe that violates the privacy.
We're not private then. We're
We
not
still
private.
are because we control who comes in.
We're not private. It's private or you get a non-resident annual card.
As Joe said, we agree to disagree.
Okay, we can do, because you have your functions like the big pack, so that is not a private community. They don't do that over at Sun City West.
Joanne, do you go to other communities for concerts? And how do you get in there?
I have a brother that works there and I have to pay $5.
Okay. As a guest?
As a guest.
To their private communities?
Well,
Yes.
I don't see them saying it's a private community. That was just brought up just recently. Private, non-private.
Okay.
They don't
But I
say
can
what
check.
to do.
Member, non-member is really what it is, right?
Joanne, can I address you?
Uh-huh.
So you have a very good point, and then I know this is just a placeholder for now, and so we're going to put this, are we going to have a motion, or are we going to do something with this?
No, we are not. This is a conversation to get this started. There is no motion. There's no decision that was going to be made. This was just a starting conversation to get feedback from the community.
And Ways and Means, it sounds like.
Right, and now Ways and Means is looking at it as to putting something together to show the community exactly what it does cost on a per annual basis for people using the facilities.
I wanted to address Kathy Carter. Thank you very much for putting this together. I appreciate it.
Just out of curiosity, that annual guest, annual club guest, the cost of that pass is $50. Karen, off the top of your head, do you know how many of those we issue?
We probably have less than 25, 30 max. It has increased exponentially since the rec centers have been used more over the years. The clubs, as Max said, has really restricted that. Pickleball used to have 14, they have 2. Tennis used to have, where's my tennis players? Bob, they used to have, 16 guests. I think they have 2 guest club passes now. It is shrunk immensely, controlled by the clubs, as Max says.
I want to say at this point that our articles of incorporation, which precedes even our founding documents, lists us as a private entity. We are established as a private entity with that legal document. Just a little bit of clarification.
And you should be able to bring guests.
Yeah, yeah,
Everywhere does.
yeah. Okay.
Kevin?
You guys are long-winded. Kevin Nielsen, Ironwood Estates. I've got a kind of a brief comment on this overall process. A few months ago, a resident stood up here and claimed they had a feeling that we had a lot more guests than we used to have. They admitted they did not know the actual numbers. The board dutifully appointed an ad hoc committee, and the ad hoc committee came up with some suggestions. When they brought it to the board, it was kind of difficult to watch. 5 guests per resident, unless you're Grant, if you have 8 grandkids, then grandma and grandpa can both bring them down. If you're widowed, well, then I guess they can't come in, but maybe if they're under 14, we could card them and let them in for free. Looking at the facilities report, the overall facilities, we've got 477 people visit all our facilities, residents, every day. That's down 1%. The number of guests is 32 per day. That's down 17% from last year. It's hard to imagine that we have a problem. The gym's the biggest facility. The resident usage is down by 1%, guest usage down by 36%. Pools down by 2%, guests down by 17%. Pickleball, residents up by 28%, guests down 5%. I know the facts. These are your facts. We don't need to change the guest policy. The number of people are not overrunning our facility. It's not a feeling, it's the statistics. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything to say? Oh, I wasn't going
Donna Karnowski, where am I? Village Terrace. All I want to say is, as you could tell, this is near and dear to everybody's heart. And I really feel, thank you for just tabling it and just having the discussion. I do appreciate that. It is true, Jim, if we had 3,700 people come to a meeting, we probably would never get anywhere. But I feel that an open forum to be allowed to, a town hall or something, would be allowed to really open up. If people are that interested in it, they would come. And I think it would be a great thing to offer it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your input. I think we will go ahead and move on to our next agenda item.
So to confirm, this will be on the next Ways and Means agenda first?
I think we should, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The July one?
That would be
Yeah, that'd be the next.
June.
Yeah, this Ways and Means hasn't met yet for June, so it'll be the 4th Wednesday.
Yeah, it's for June.
This month.
Yeah, June Ways and Means.
Can we have an agreement that we don't really go anywhere beyond a certain point without having a town hall first?
No, that wasn't an agreement. That was a request and a suggestion, but that was not an agreement. I think the next step that we're going to do is we're going to allow Ways and Means to do their due diligence that they're asking to do to be able to come up with a number, and we'll bring that conversation back again.
I'd like to make a motion to have the guest pass policy not go through without a town hall.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
I think it's important. Is it open for discussion now? If I understand that correctly.
We've had a motion, yes.
About the town hall?
Yes, and we can vote.
Oh, we can discuss it.
You discuss, then we vote.
Thank you. I think it's very important, as Donna said as well, that something as lively as this, the community is given a forum to speak and ask many questions and get answers before it's just put on our shoulders as a board to have it go through. That's why I'm for town hall and having it be openly discussed. And there's a lot of aspects to this guest policy besides one or two items. There's the cost, there's the number, there's a lot of controls. Some people are trying to limit other people's usage of the property, especially when it's comparative to how the property's been used in the past. So I think it's very important that we discuss all the avenues in this policy with all of our residents that wish to participate.
Excuse me, are we going to hold the town hall during the summer months when there's not very many people here, or are we going to wait till fall, till the snowbirds get back?
What do you think we should do?
I don't want a town hall anyway, because all you're going to have is maybe 100, 150 people sitting in your audience, depending on what time of year you have it. You could have even less if it's in the summertime. They're just going to argue back and forth what we're doing now. So, opinion, you could send out a survey and get a better opinion than you'll get at the town hall, I think.
Stop.
So a better suggestion might be to continue to work on this, come up with a couple options with supported changes and put it out for community input. Instead of 200 people at a town hall, we could hopefully get 2,000 people's input.
Well, right now the motion is to have a town hall for this, and I think we should do that. And we should do that because, I mean, Kathy Carter has brought some very important things that she's brought to the board, and I think some of that's very good. I think there's other people out here that would like to have a voice, and then we can control it. I think it's about time that we have something like that the board supports, allowing the people that live in Westwood Village a voice.
So Tim, a question for you on the town hall portion before I make a decision. I get to sit here quietly and you all can't agree, because I'm always a deciding vote. But my question to you is, if we say yes for a town hall, are you going to allow it to be able to basically allow the information to be gathered and had before we have this town hall, or are you looking to run out and schedule it next week?
Well, I would wait till, kind of like what Max had said, when people that leave here that utilize the people, that they should have a voice too. The problem with having some kind of surveys, it's the way that you word it. You can do both, but first of all, having a town hall as the chairman, my job is just to facilitate it. It's up to Max Allen, it's up to people on the board that come up with their ideas of what they should do or should not do. Everybody has a voice.
Okay.
I think we should consider a combination of both. Getting the information required, suggesting what the new price may be, ironing out a lot of the other things that are in here, continue to move forward with that, possibly over the summer, and then have a town hall as we have ironed out these kinks later on in the fall and winter.
Maybe with the goal of having it done by October budget season?
Yes.
I totally agree with that. To just jump into a town hall would be not in our best interest. In my opinion, would not be in our best interest. We need to wait to have more facts and data put together and truthfully wait until our snowbirds come back. So I would say we need to wait till at least October to hold the town hall.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, don't we have a budget meeting in October, Karen?
Our budget meetings are, yes, in October.
So if we had a meeting, for lack of better terminology, in September, would that be enough time to get it before the budget committee in October?
Well, we'd have to get it before operating because it is an operating revenue stream. So it could be early October, late September. It's a very tight schedule to answer your question. Yeah.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second, Nancy. Kathy, raise your hand first and then I'll call you.
Okay, I have a suggestion. Instead of a town hall, which is just a lot of input and discussion but doesn't come out with any decisions, an ad hoc committee would come out with a recommendation for the board to consider. And if you put out a request for people who would like to be on the ad hoc committee, and then, I don't know, Karen, somebody would select members to be on that ad hoc committee, they come out with a suggestion or a recommendation from different points of view and different perspectives and different input. And it's more manageable and it gives you clearer direction as to a recommendation rather than just, you know, the number of people at a town hall. And sometimes at a town hall, you'll get a certain group that makes sure everyone is there, so they are overly represented, and that's what you feel like is the dominant.
Excuse me.
Okay, folks, did we not listen to what was said at the very beginning of this meeting? I please respect what was said. This woman has something to say. We owe her to listen respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, that would be my recommendation instead of a town hall and ad hoc committees.
Why can't we do both, Kathy?
You could, but it's just going to be a representative of the people that are at that town hall, and that will be loud and clear, and it can dominate. So it's not equally representative sometimes at a town hall. So at ad hoc, you get a balance of representation from different perspectives.
I'm all for an ad hoc committee. I'm for absolutely, go ahead and be part of that. I just think that that we can do both.
You can do both.
Yeah, you have every right to get up in a town hall meeting and present your case,
yes,
as well as other people.
Yes.
Now, as far as one group being overrepresented, that's up to the people that live here.
I agree. That's just what happens sometimes. So it isn't representative of what a lot of, or the majority of the people. And this way, it's just like all of you have different perspectives and you were voted in because of your different perspectives. And when you sit down and have discussions, you represent different perspectives among the community. But when you do a town hall, you can really have, you know, a bias majority. But I just would recommend ad hoc, that's all.
Perfect, thank you.
Hold
Hold on one second. No, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
One thing about an ad hoc, if we do have one, we did have one, right?
That's correct. Yes, we did.
Okay. So, and here we are. So if we have another one, I really don't think we should limit who's on the committee. I think ad hoc committees should be a very broad spectrum of the whole community as well. And the charge of the ad hoc should be to go into that community and gather more information about the community members. So one thing, if we do have an ad hoc, I will recommend that we do not limit the amount of people in that committee and allow them to meet as often as they want and discuss things.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Hold on one second. Nancy, did you want to talk? Because you were next.
I just had a quick question. Just curious why.
Come up to the microphone, please.
I know you don't like it, but
We get complaints from people not being able to hear on the video.
All right.
Nancy Millard, Oakmont Heights. Quick question. I know there's discussion about the budget and having this before the budget. What does the guest pass policy have to do with the budget? I'm just curious.
It's just a revenue
it's
line
part,
item.
it's a revenue line item in the operational budget. So it goes towards helping to
Review the budget.
Review and balance
It's a
the
line
budget.
item of the budget.
So is it that important to have it before the budget?
No,
in reality.
But if you're going to make a change for 26, it makes sense to have it in the 26 budget.
That's
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Lynette?
I'm Lynette Jones from Fairway Springs, and this applies to all the endeavors that we do here at Fairway Springs, where we try to measure something. In the world of analytics, and in every industry, you start with the broadest collection of information you can. So that's why you do a town hall. Everybody shows up and get all kinds of comments. Then you start narrowing it down to smaller and smaller groups, and you start using instruments like surveys to narrow down all the ideas you're getting into something that you can use and implement. Just saying that's best practice.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I am sorry to see you and them that's coming about in our community. We are a neighborhood. And we need to think of our neighbors and maybe what they want or whatever and try to come together. I am so sad when somebody says, oh, this one group is pushing things or whatever. And I think that is totally wrong. I think, as I spoke in the annual meeting, that we need more forums. We need times where the community can come together, voice their opinions. I was on long-range planning. We did a survey on that one. But you know what? Our response was only about 300, 400 people that responded to that survey. So a survey is not going to do it, really. Maybe you can come together, but I think we need a forum where everybody can voice their opinions. We may be able to have an ad hoc, but I have a problem with ad hoc committees because in the past, a lot of times it's 3 people and 3 people decide. So they're the ones that bring that information. So it's not a community event. And it's not where everybody, I think it's also good to educate people. Today I've heard there are 2 different kinds of passes. There is a non-resident pass that goes for the clubs. And then there is the village pass that goes for our other amenities. So I think there needs to be an education process. I think Bruce is right. I think we need to come through and say, you know, this is what it costs for the guest. This is what it costs for us. Because I really think our dues are way below what they should be. Not that I like high dues, but if you look at the other communities, which you're pointing out in different discussions, they have higher dues. And when I was on the long-range planning committee, I researched that. Lynette and I researched that. We brought it to Karen, but I've never seen it presented again. So, you know, I'm sorry. I think you guys need to educate yourself. I mean, the board needs to educate everybody into what the situation is. And I think we can have that in a town forum type event rather than here at the board meeting where we have some of these, what do I want to say, comments that have no place. So anyway, that's my take. I really think we need a public forum. You can call it a town hall, or you can call it a forum, or you can call it a meeting, whatever, but we need one.
Well, don't move, go back. So one of the things that I really enjoy about having Bruce across the street is when he has his grandkids over. There is nothing more pleasant than hearing happy noise of kids playing and have a lot of fun. I understand there's a lot of people probably in Westbrook Village may not think the same way that I do, but to me it's a pleasure and I really enjoy it. So we have to have an open mind, not just the price that we're doing, but also how we use it.
So please try to be a good neighbor. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the board by Tim, seconded by Joe, requesting that we have a town hall before the decision of this is being made. Without it. Am I wrong?
No, you're I'm sorry.
Your face made it look like I was wrong.
But do we not, should it be amended to say that when we're gonna have it? Might they go up? Should we amend the motion to include when we should have it, what the program is? I'll open that up to Tim or Joe.
Probably after more information is gathered, but prior to the board vote. I don't think.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think we have to have a month timeline in it. Frankly, if it doesn't meet that budget, we could still vote it in as a board to.
It should, but
right.
if it doesn't, it's not detrimental.
Right.
So your suggestion is to basically say, once we've had enough information gathered, but before the board would vote on it, we would hold a town hall.
Yes.
When everybody's back in town. Yeah.
Yeah, well, valid point. When folks are back in town. Okay.
So do we
Would
want
you
to
agree with
amend
that,
the motion?
Tim? Would you
So
agree
does
with
that mean October 1st, November 1st, December 1st, or January 1st when everyone's here?
November 1st.
Which is, again, past budget.
Right, yeah. That's probably just gonna be a given that it's passed budget. We just, what are your thoughts, Tim, on that?
I think, so my question is so why can't we have it around the 1st of October? Either way, 4 or 5 days, or whatever.
The town hall is.
Yes.
We
If we
should
get
have
those
all the
facts.
information by then.
Yeah, we would have it.
End of September. Period.
Okay.
After Labor Day or something.
Bruce, are you good with that?
Yes, I am. We can't please everybody, but at least we're making an attempt to involve more people, and I'm okay with that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so having heard all of that, any other questions from the board? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
In favor of what?
In favor of the motion that we will hold a town hall sometime at the end of September, 1st of October, after all information has been gathered, but before the board will make a decision.
And it's okay.
Should it go before budget, before it goes to the board?
No, budget shouldn't.
I'm not sure if this really is going to create a huge impact on our budget.
Correct.
And I don't feel we need to make that as something that we need to worry about so much.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so with all that clarification, again, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay. All right, so that passes. All right. Moving on to our next agendized item. Joe, I'm going to turn that over to you because this is your item that you requested.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about the Westbrook Village Association committee and board policies as they relate to procurement and capital improvements. What's up here is the procurement policy. Did all the board members get my email about what I included? There was a misunderstanding between me and Marcy.
Yes.
Okay.
I've got
She's got copies and she's sending them down.
Were you able to have something be able to flash up there too so they can read it? I can just read it from here. Okay, I can just read it from here.
Okay.
Thank you. So our, what's in place, what I could find in doing a forms request on how the committees relate to the board of directors is the committees are put in place with the following purposes, and I'm reading from this paper that was approved by the board in 2013. To increase the ability of the directors to get their tasks done efficiently and in a timely manner by providing additional data and ideas. And the next item is to provide ideas, investigate those ideas through research, review, request for proposals and bids, and offer recommendations to the board of directors. So the committees are government relations, information technology, landscape and facilities, personnel, recreation, town hall, and ways and means. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I just think that we've kind of strayed a little bit in the past. Last month I brought up, for example, the RV lot. And I thought as a board that we would have an opportunity to review the bids like we did on the Lakes lot and choose which bid we move forward with. And I was told, well, we didn't have to do that because it came in under budget. But I can't find anything in any of our documents that say that that should be allowed. So I just wanted to bring it up for discussion because I think, for example, the Ways and Means Committee approved that, but their job, according to this, is to offer recommendations to the board for the board's consideration and approval. And that's happened a couple times with other things. I just don't want it to become a prerequisite if that's truly not what we're allowed to do. Even like the purchase of our truck, that we had a new purchase of a set amount. I feel that should have been brought to the board prior to the purchase of the truck so we could discuss it. I'm not questioning whether or not some of these things did not need to happen. But I just think we need to, in the future, go back to these documents so that things are done correctly by the committees, that they make recommendations to the board, and then that the board can then take those recommendations under advisement and make their decisions. So that's why I wanted to bring this up.
Joe, as a chairman of one of the committees, we only make recommendations. We never pass a full policy. We're not allowed to. And anything we do has always been a recommendation to the board, always.
I also want to add that projects like asphalt, it came in under budget for the RV lot. And what are you going to change about asphalt? We normally go for the low bid. What are you going to change about asphalt? The color? So we should take that to the ACC? I don't think so. My point is, some of the projects that are kind of no-brainer type projects, those are pushed forward so we can get stuff done. We're notorious for having our wheels grind very, very slowly. And I think I'm seeing a lot of head shake out there. And that's why something like an asphalt project went forward. It was under budget, already had the board approval for that budget amount, and there wasn't a lot of controversy about asphalt.
And 7 ways and members, 7 landscaping facilities members approved it, and the 3 board member ways and means.
So, you know.
I understand, and I agree with you, it should be brought to the ACC, but it should be brought to the board for approval. That's what our documents say that needs to happen, not that landscape gets to make a recommendation to Ways and Means and then they approve it.
Controversial items always appear before the board.
It doesn't need to be controversial is my point, it just needs to be, what I'm looking at here.
We need to clarify the policies, what you're saying.
If we're going to allow the committees to engage in hundreds of $1,000s purchases, it needs to be in there that that's what they're allowed to do. Because it's my opinion that those should come to the board. The committees aren't. That's kind of what
we discuss it, but we don't pass anything on it. We discuss, committees discuss the problem or the question or the proposals, and then whatever the committee decides, whether they're in favor or not in favor, is sent to the board. You're asking the board to micromanage our staff. Is that what you're asking?
No, that's a misunderstanding. Max, what happened was Ways and Means Committee on April, I believe it was 23rd, made a motion by Amy to accept the proposal by Roadrunner Paving. It was never brought to the board.
Well, it was under budget. It was in the board to begin with.
Well, actually,
Joe,
can I help you a little bit here?
Why not bring it in?
Well, so here's the issue. So when the budget committee puts something on to have on it, they inflate the price. And if somebody comes in under that budget, it doesn't matter. You need to come back to the board. So what you're basically saying is that we need to keep an eye on the budget committee and say, you guys need to lowball so everything comes back to the board.
I take offense.
Well,
I
you
take
can
feral
take
offense.
So-
Sean, I'm gonna address that comment.
Well,
Sean, as the facilities manager, the budgetary line item for the asphalt was exactly what we got in writing, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's don't get
Stop making
all upset.
accusations.
So here's the deal, it's not an accusation, and again, per our president's request is everybody needs to talk in a civil manner. And actually, the board needs to discuss this, and if the president would like your opinion, she needs to ask for it.
No.
So here's, no,
not
actually,
really.
yeah.
When you attack the general manager,
No,
I
I-
have the right
you
to
can-
defend
well,
myself.
Yeah,
It's not
but
an attack.
Tim, you're also making an accusation that's, when they put the budget together and they put line items in there, they have done the research on that before they put it in there, because what they want to give us is the most accurate number. We do not want just pie in the sky guess and say this could possibly be, because that's not beneficial to
Do me a
us as the
favor,
committee.
look in the Articles of Incorporation, the bylaws, anywhere where it says a subcommittee can authorize the funds and the work done other than the board. It doesn't say that. So anything without a certain amount, dollar amount, and the idea that, and we need to define what an emergency is. It's not an emergency. It's an emergency if a hot water goes bad, hot water heater goes bad, if a refrigerator goes bad, if an air conditioner goes bad. That to me makes sense. But if we're going to buy a truck, what's the emergency? That needs to come to the
Day-to-day
board.
operations without a truck.
Day-to-day operation. Go to Home Depot and rent a truck.
Oh, but
It's
then
like a certain amount of money.
And who authorizes that, Tim? Does that have to come to the board, or to rent the truck?
Let's spend $3,000.
Not, well, that's the deal. If it's an emergency, what's the emergent condition?
Tim, do you feel that this board did not approve the repaving of the RV lot?
I believe that in a special board meeting.
No,
we had-
like
I'm
that,
answering
the
your question.
question.
It's a
No, you're
special-
not, you're dancing around it. Did the board approve to do the repave on the RV lot?
I believe we did.
Thank you.
But, so let's not both out dance around this. That when it comes to the final decision, the board is responsible, and each one of us is liable to the community and in a lawsuit if we do not come back and authorize the final payment. What's the big deal?
That's my point. What is the big deal?
Well, it's right.
This was a maintenance item. This was necessary. And we acted on it, and you want to slow it down.
I don't want to slow it down.
Yes, you are.
Let me tell you what you can do. You can actually go into the.
Hold on.
Wait, guys.
Don't tell me what I can do.
Okay, that can never be sensitive. So here's the deal. And just like we did.
Thank you for that.
Well, here's the deal. We could do the same thing that we did when we rescinded the guest pass policy. You can come on and you can ask every board member to answer an email, yes or no, is it going to be approved? It's that simple.
In my opinion, the time it took for 2 other committees to meet about it, decide it could have simply been brought to the board, all 6 of those proposals. So I don't think the time is an issue. And moving forward, when something gets brought, time should not be the issue. We should go through our proper channels that are here. We have other items coming up, for example, that the committees can make recommendations on, and that's great, that's what the committee's for, but it needs to be the board that approves it. You know, and the board didn't approve Roadrunner paving until after they were awarded the project. I'm not saying that the project itself wasn't approved, the budget for the project was approved, but not the selection. We didn't get to review all 6 bids. You know, we have committees do that and they make a recommendation, but that information should still be presented to us for us to either follow that recommendation or have a discussion about that. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what these documents say the committees are to be used for.
There was a life-threatening injury at the pickleball courts, and it took this committee 2 months to get AED out there. That to me was unacceptable.
Okay, wait a minute. We had one which was used and actually saved the life, so
The one it was removed from the Ramada and placed somewhere else, and it took a while to get it out there. So the board did their due diligence and eventually got it out there. So we needed to find what an emergency is, and we need to let the board do the job. Not any type of expenditure that's over a certain amount needs to come back to the board.
You have a question?
Kevin Nielsen, I would like to comment. I think part of this conversation has gone a little far afield. You guys have a fiduciary responsibility. You have to follow regular orders. Like Max was talking about, his committee recommends. That's the way it's supposed to work. Ways and Means cannot approve. That's for your protection, for our protection, to follow the rules. That's all it is. Emergencies are emergencies, and somebody's gonna have to make a decision on that, fine. But one person's no-brainer might not be another person's no-brainer. It has to go through this board. We're comfortable, more comfortable when it goes through this board, like the rules say.
Do you, excuse me, sir, do you believe that when the board passes the budget for the year, that it is approving the budget and that everything that is in that budget?
No, that budget is a template for what we can afford and for the places we feel it should be spent. If somebody comes up and is going to do a shoddy job and take our $800,000, the board needs to approve that, okay? They need to look at what happened. I think the committee, like your committee, I mean, Max is justifiably defensive about this because his committee's doing it the right way. All the committees need to do it the right way. Let's follow regular order, do things the right way.
Thank you.
And as we're talking, and the procurement policy is part of this too, and Karen and I had a disagreement earlier about when I was walking around with people.
Soliciting bids.
No, I wasn't soliciting bids. That's the thing, that's what this says. That the general manager or his or her designate is authorized to solicit bids. I wasn't soliciting bids, I was trying to figure out what type of system would work with these, lack of a better word, old doors. And some places don't need door control and other places do, but how can we have a system in place that manages and controls and looks at how many people use what facility?
Right.
And we're talking about fencing and pickleball, and it'd be nice to have access to the gates so somebody doesn't have to walk over in the tennis courts and all that. What kind of system would encompass all of that?
But with all due respect, why couldn't you have contacted the facilities manager, not had to do your guest pass? Our front desk staff is following a procedure.
Yeah.
And they were doing their job.
I understand, and I'm learning too on the proper protocols. Nothing told me I couldn't do it. Couldn't simply say, call a few companies that I've worked with in the past that I know of through commercial construction. Hey, we're entertaining this possibility. I want to know which system works for us. Simply, I don't see any problem coming down and they want to put eyes on, well, what do you have? I don't know. So I'm learning how to do it, but I want you to know that that's why my disagreement here. I have no bids for how much, just ideas.
But Joe, did you tell the staff you're acquiring bids when you were checking in at the Lakes Rec Center?
No, I told them we're here to look at the doors, how many doors there are, what type of doors they are, what type of systems are in place. One system works for this but doesn't work for that, another system works for this but not that.
Okay.
That's all.
So what, just to touch on that also, Joe, I understand that you want to be helpful in this situation and you want to go out and do those things. But we all learned in board training and have learned subsequently in other HOA training That's not our jobs individually. We are not to do that. And partly that's to protect us as a board. We are, despite the fact that we may be an expert in a particular field, we're not the HOA's expert in that field. That's why we hire people. That's why we have, so that we have that protection, that we're not that. Doesn't mean you can't have an input in that because you know about it, but we have to go to those experts and we have to get that information from them. And your input about it is great, but it needs to go through the appropriate committees and people to be able to do that.
I agree with you, and I will assure you that all of this was done prior to me becoming a board member or having any of that training. Since then, I haven't shown anybody anything. So
take that as you would like.
So just really quick, Marcy, so the training that we attended, the lawyer that was presenting the training said you can have 7 different lawyers and seven different opinions.
Yes.
So I am very happy that everyone that comes to this board has their own personal life experience that brings something to it. And as long as Joe is not seeking a bid from somebody, by all means. I mean, Bruce and I went and measured pads. You know, it's like there's nothing wrong with it. I've been out to the pool and talked to the people that do volleyball and watched how they did it. And that's vital information for boards, not to just sit on a committee, but get out and touch what we have here at Westbrook Village.
Correct. I don't disagree with that, but then we then have to turn that over to the people that are the experts and have them give us their opinions on that.
And just communicate. We're not saying you can't completely do it all. Just let our staff know, hey, I'm bringing some contractors on site on this day. Denise and Sean will absolutely make it happen. Not have to have punch your guest pass either.
Without having any prior knowledge to you being on site that day, it was like you were going, in my perspective, you were going around me doing my job. Because I had no idea what you were doing, right?
yeah, at the time I had no idea what your job was, and I apologize for it. That was the first time we met.
I feel like I should be offended to death.
No, but I apologize. That was the first time we met, so everybody knows that's the first time we met. You know, I will take full responsibility in my ignorance there. Frankly, you're right. I should, in hindsight, call them. I just thought I could, hey, we're just walking around. We're not bothering anybody, you know. So.
Sean's a good guy. He'll walk with you.
All right, so let's get, Joe, if you would like to provide some thought on a change into that? Is that what you're?
No, I really don't. No, I just want to discuss it. I don't think it needs to be changed. I do think that the committees, maybe we as a board, I don't know how the proper way to do this. I don't know if we need to write something up or just how to remind the committees that it's their job to make recommendations to the board of directors.
I guess I'm missing because they've always have, so I.
No, but they've been awarding contracts.
No, they haven't been awarding contracts. The Ways and Means, at the recommendation of the Landscape and Facilities, approved the road runner contract as it was under budget. But the committee only made their recommendation. Ways and Means always would weigh in on it. And the reason why Lakes came to the board was because it was over budget. And Ways and Means, the Lakes, yes it was. The Lakes asphalt was over budget. If you add the contingency and the amount in there, it was just over the budget. And whether it's $1 over the budget or $100,000 over the budget, Ways and Means will bring it back to the board for approval.
Okay, well, that's not written anywhere. So if that's going to be the protocol, I guess we need to have that written up, because whether or not it's over or above the budget, when I read this, makes no difference. It's up to the board to decide whether or not to move forward with the project, whether or not it's above or below budget.
So maybe as Ways and Means committee procedure versus all of the committees, because there is a true difference from rec, landscaping, cornerstone.
Is there a Ways and Means committee procedure?
There's a difference. We're talking about.
It's lumped into all of them.
Yeah, we're talking about procurement, but there's also the capital improvements and even just the general, it could be construed by reading this, the ideas, because ideas is a word here in this document. You know, that the committees can't just move forward with something on their own without, they have to have board approval. So that's what's written here, and that's what I'm.
And again, the Ways and Means Committee and the other committees have different authorities.
Right.
It needs to be clarified in a procedural, and it's lumped into one. I think that's a great idea.
Well, yeah, each one of them, and I couldn't find call it a mission statement or a charter for each and every one of them. Some of them have it, but not all of them do. So their tasks, I believe, in the past have just been verbally understood of what their jobs
No, I
are.
think the committees updated their mission statements back in 2019 or so.
Okay, well, I'd like to be able to
And
see
then
that.
from-
Yeah, maybe we could get that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I think we've got that information now, so I think I got some walking orders on that.
But
Yes.
whether or not it's above budget or under budget is very important because, for example, something can be missed and move forward and it's grossly under the budget and then it never gets brought to us because of that, when really it should still be brought to us to make a the decision on it so that everything's above board and the optics are correct at all times.
All right, thank you.
Marcy, can I have a question really quick? So this policy up here was written, it was approved in October 22nd versus procurement policy, October 22nd, 2014. In some industries, it's a requirement that we revisit policies every 5 years. I'd like to make a recommendation that we take a look at all our policies and review them at least every 5 years.
Okay, I hear your request. Joanne?
Again, my name is Joanne Sacco, and I think that is the rule. It's a procurement policy, that's the rule, so you should go by the rules. And it states it very excessively in there. An example would be the favorite thing, my favorite thing, the baby pool, swimming pool. That only had one bid. So that says over a certain amount of money, it should have 3 bids. So why would we just do 1 bid? Why don't you kind of wait till you can go find other pool people to get their recommendations, and you have enough people in here that have had the services and the knowledge about pools that they could recommend people to get 3 bids, which that statement says, and you should go by the rules. The rules are the rules, just like private, non-private.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, guys. Thank you for a good conversation. Let's get. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
And I want to thank all the board members for listening to this. On my behalf.
What the heck, but we have had a lot of applications at ACC. Usually it gets quiet. Let me put in perspective. May of 2024, we had 1 application. This month, in May, we had 11. That's a lot. So
that's just at the agenda level.
That's just at the agenda level, yes. So I'd like to thank you all for putting in your applications. So, Tim, Government Relations.
Can I add something?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Marcy. I'm also on the ACC, and some things that are coming up for discussion this year are artificial turf and what do we call them, lighting? Permanent lighting. So if anybody's interested in our discussions about that, please attend. Thank you.
All right, government relations, Tim?
Okay, last night at the city of Peoria meeting that we had last night, it was really strange. It was very crazy. Amcor has invested $2 billion within the city of Peoria, and some of the communities are not happy about it. They think that it's going to cause more problems than it is anything else, first in regards, or not being necessarily being a revenue stream. So that was the big thing. So if you have the opportunity and you like YouTube, please go up there and watch that. But that's all I have.
Okay. Myself, information technology, we did not have a meeting in May. Bruce, landscape and facilities.
Minutes are in your binder. Just so you know, we're still watching our water usage, and I'm going to tell you next Wednesday we're going to be very thankful for the rain we had this week, actually.
Yeah. All right, long range planning committee would be me, and we have finished up the surveys that were done. For the fitness center, we have turned over the fitness refresh update to the landscape and facilities to start looking at that. So, and then we're starting to look at some new potential long-range things to add to our agenda. And then, wait, again, here on Cornerstone, first of all, if anybody would love to join Cornerstone, we would love to have you. If you have really great ideas about fundraising and beautification of the community, we would love to have you join us. We are going to be holding a cornhole tournament in the fall. That'll be sponsored by the Cornerstone, and we are trying to come up with some really great other projects to be doing. One of which that we will be having one of the homes donated for community garage sale. When that occurs in the fall, all the proceeds from that will go to Cornerstone for our community garage sale. So those are a couple of things that are coming up with that. That takes us to Personnel Committee. Steve?
No May meeting.
Okay. Max, Recreation Committee?
Minutes are in the binder. Entertain any questions? Nothing much. Well, we will be discussing at our next meeting ballroom fees.
Ballroom fees.
I'm sorry. We will be discussing at our next meeting ballroom fees for use of by subcommittees, associations. I'm sorry.
Subdivisions.
Subdivisions. Whatever. Okay. Other than that, things have been fairly quiet up till now. We'll see what develops.
Tim, Town Hall?
Nothing new.
Okay. Bruce, Ways and Means?
Well, you got my report at the beginning here. Our meeting, I was not present. I was there via phone, and it looked like it was a productive meeting. And just so you all know, we are still very healthy financially, and we can all be proud of that. Thank you.
I have a question for Bruce. How did that work out being on the phone?
It worked out just fine. Thank you.
The golf course and association joint meetings, that's me and Steve, and there was no May meeting, but there will be a June meeting, so we should have something to report next month. Managers report.
Pages 46 through 50. We're here for any questions. You'll see palm tree trimming was delayed by 1 day due to the rain, but they are back on track. This Friday is our scheduled day to have all the RVs out of the RV lot for the paving project. Please, everybody, be patient with your neighbors. Let's give everybody a little bit of grace for these 2 weeks. If they have an RV in their driveway or on the street, it's the only way to get this project done. We will also be having RVs behind the administration.
Okay. All right, that leads us into, for the good of the order, what goodness do we have? Nita.
My rain gauge had 2 inches of rain.
We like that. All right, any other for the good of the order?
Marcy, it was asked earlier today from your comments as far as decorum in this room, to have them put them in the minutes. I think that's a great idea. We should do that.
All right. We shall do. All right, anything else? I will declare meeting adjourned.